It's been a long year without author events. It's been very strange. So it's so nice to have you virtually. One day soon, hopefully, we'll be back in the library with all the books.
Fingers crossed.
Great. So today we're going to do some Q&A with our fantastic authors, and we've also got some activities to do in between each Q&A. So there'll be not too much sitting around. So don't forget to have your pen and paper handy, because this is all going to be a bit silly, very fun. You cannot get this wrong in any way, shape or form. Whatever you create is perfect. That's our rule in the library. You can never get these things wrong. If you follow us on social media and you've done drawings and creative writing, take pictures, tag us. We will tag the authors so they can see your amazing creations, because we want to see what you've been up to. And we will all be having a go at these activities too. So it may be very silly. It may go a bit skew with who knows what will happen, but we're just going to have a really good time. So we're going to start with Damaris. Hello, Damaris. Author of The Creature Keeper. And I've got a few questions for you. Are you happy to answer them?
I would love to.
Excellent. So one of our first questions is, what is your book, The Creature Keeper, all about?
Okay, so The Creature Keeper is about a girl called Cora, and you can see her there on the front. She's looking very brave with her flashlight there. And she discovers these mysterious animals in a place called Spire Hall. And then she becomes the creature keeper of these mysterious animals. And I'm not going to give them away, because I think that's part of the mystery, is finding out these extraordinary animals for yourself. But it's a story about sort of, the natural world and what it means to be free as well. I think that's the moral of the story, is what it means to be free, and whether we should sort of cage these extraordinary, beautiful animals, or whether we should protect the habitats that they live in. So yeah, that's a little bit of an overview of The Creature Keeper. It's my second book, and I just really wanted to write about the natural world. My first book as well, I wrote a little bit about the sort of more about the environment. This one I wanted to focus on the animals that lived in the environment. So yes, that's The Creature Keeper for you.
Sounds amazing, and a really important issue as well when we're talking about protecting habitats and ecosystems, and the balance between the place where the animals live, but the animals themselves as well. So it's really, really on topic for what we're discussing in the world.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we share the world, don't we? So it's like we all have to share the world. We have to share these natural habitats. And we have to look after the world for the creatures as well, not just for us. Because if it was just humans, that'd be a very boring world.
It really would, definitely.
And I don't think we'd survive very long.
No, I don't think we would. We'd probably be very hungry as well. Well, because all our animals pollinate our plants, and then we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have Kellogg's, because we'd have no cereal, and the long chain of things that would happen. We would not have breakfast cereal. No chocolate, no all sorts of good things, no tea, no coffee. I mean, I don't know how we'd cope. No cake. Right, well, that would be the end of the world.
That would be the toughest one. Yeah. No cake.
End of the world. Yeah. Have you always wanted to write for children, or did you sort of branch out wanting to write for adults or young adults first, and it kind of changed? Or
I've always wanted to write for children. I used to visit the library when I was younger. That was my first sort of introduction into sort of all these different genres of books. There's one place where you've got all these books that you can take home and read at your leisure. And I worked my way through the Goosebumps series.
Excellent choice.
I'm rereading them as an adult, and they're quite scary. I don't know, Sophie and Tamsin, have you read any of the Goosebumps series?
Yeah, they're properly scary.
So yeah, but it was the Goosebumps series that made me want to write for children. I thought, it was that edge of your seat, the adventure and the spookiness, and I just thought I'd love to sort of recreate this as an adult. And actually, my first book, The Switching Out, is more along the lines of sort of Goosebumps and that. So that, yeah, I think that was the sort of key that unlocked this dream of becoming a children's author. I mean, maybe I'll branch out to young adult, maybe later on, but I think, yeah, there's an absolute magic in writing for children, and I think just creating these portals to other worlds, it's just, yeah, it really is magic.
Really is. Thank you for writing, all of you. It's great, because it's really fun reading children's books as an adult as well. You think, oh no, there's all of that kind of conversation. Oh, children's books are for children, adults books are for adults, and actually really good written books are for anybody to enjoy, particularly children's literature. I mean, why are we still reading The Hobbit and classic books like Pippi Longstockings and things like that? Because they're just well-written stories. So we love them as adults as much as children. So it's a great talent.
Yeah, I think the majority of my library is just children's books.
Yes, it's an excellent way forward, definitely. What inspires you the most to write?
Everything. I think you can find inspiration from absolutely anywhere. I think if you're constantly, as I think most authors are, constantly thinking about, you know, stories and the next story that might come along, I think you can just find inspiration anywhere, from films, from reading other books, on walking the dog. And I like sort of asking myself, you know, what if? And I think that's the best question to ask yourself if you want to be inspired to write a story. And you can say, like, you know, what if we could breathe underwater, or what if we could fly, or something like that? And then this just sort of creates this firework of you know, story inspiration. So yeah, I think anywhere. I think if I was to try and pin it down to anything, I couldn't, because even dreams, sometimes I'll wake up and I'll have this idea for a story and I'll think it's amazing. And then actually when I think about it, it's like, no, that wouldn't work. Dreams don't usually.
But that's just a good editing really process. That's a good editing process. That's always good.
So yeah, and I think that's, if you want to write stories, just constantly be thinking about stories and story ideas. And I think that's the only bit of advice I would give.
Well, that leads us on nicely, because actually you said everything inspires you, but what's your best bit of writing advice?
Yes, my writing advice, and this is what I had to tell myself early on, is write what you love and write what you know, because I think you can sometimes get caught up by thinking, you know, I have to write about something that's popular, say vampires or something like that. You know, you have to write something that's, you know, that other people are writing. But if you don't enjoy that, or if you're not interested in it, you're just going to get bored of the story. So write what you know, because you're going to be spending, I mean, for me, it takes a good couple of months to actually put the story down on paper. And you're going to get pretty bored if you're not interested in what you're writing. So yeah, write what you love. So if you like football, write about football, animals, and yeah, I think that's it. I think just be honest with yourself as well, that if you're really not enjoying the story that you're writing, you know, you can always write another one. You don't have to, you're not a failure just because you stopped, you know, writing that story. Just keep trying.
That's great advice. I really like that advice. I think it's the same for lots of things in our lives. If we love it, it's really easy to enjoy it and work hard at it and keep going. And as you say, if it's not working, not worry about it being wrong, but going, okay, how can I rework this? How can I change it? So it's really nice, positive advice. Thank you. That's great. This leads us into your activity a little bit, but let's end with this question. If you could be an animal, which animal would you be? Tough choice.
This changes all the time, but currently it's a giraffe. I think that they're pretty extraordinary creatures, and I learned the other day that their spots are like human fingerprints. Like there's no two giraffes that have the same kind of spots, and I just think they're extraordinary looking creatures. They're very quite strange, aren't they?
I think they're related to camels.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they're from the camel family of animals. Now, I may be wrong, and this is now being recorded, and someone somewhere on the internet will tell me, but that's fine.
Yeah, and I just think that they're also a huge inspiration for like the Creature Keeper, and just, you know, imagining all these different extraordinary animals. Like, I mean, there's no more extraordinary animals that you can ever imagine that don't already exist, I think, in our world. So yeah.
That's a great one. Tamsin and Sophie, I've got to ask you the same question. Which animal would you be?
I would be a whale.
Oh, I like it. Yes.
Because I'm happiest underwater, if I'm honest. And also I love singing. And I think whales are just incredible.
Yes.
You know, they can swim to 2 kilometers deep. You could do so much exploring. Also, they hang in the water when they sleep, like they look like sort of monoliths. Amazing. I think I would quite like to sleep like that, just sort of hanging vertically in the water.
That sounds really cool. Okay, so we have a giraffe, we have a whale, Sophie.
Well, mine might be a wee bit closer to home because the animals I know best are cats, and I often look at them and I quite envy their life because they spend a lot of time just deciding where to curl up and sleep. And when they sleep, they look so happy. Sometimes they have little catty dreams. And I also think they have their own secret life that I don't know about. And I don't know if any of you have cats or animals that can go off and do their own thing. But my cats don't do very much at the moment because they're quite old. But when they were younger, they'd disappear for whole days. And I'd think, where have you gone? What have you done? I know you've had some amazing adventures. So I quite think that, yeah, I might have to go with a cat just so I can see what they actually get up to when they're off on their sneaky adventures that I don't know about.
Like that, cat, a whale and a giraffe. That's a children's book waiting to be written. There's a trio opportunity there for you, ladies. There we go. That's brilliant. Love those suggestions. If you guys who are watching, you have animals you want to be, do tell us in the chat or tell us on social media if you're going to draw your animal, because that is what we're going to do now. We're going to create a creature with Damaris. So pens and paper at the ready, and Damaris, over to you to let you decide how we're going to do this.
Right, okay. So this is going to be quite fun, I think. So what I would quite like us to do is to get your paper, and you can put it on a hard book if you'd like, but I would like you to draw an animal using your memory. So I don't want you to look at the paper at all. And I'm going to choose a crocodile to draw. So I'm going to try and draw a crocodile from memory. Now you can either just close your eyes and draw, or you can put it on your head and try and draw it. Like, you make sure you're not peeking. And then after that, once we've looked at our drawings and looked at, whatever amazing creature we've drawn, using our eyes, we're going to create an even more magical animal from that. Make a dragon or scribbly monster, whatever you like. Okay, so let's have a go, shall we? Okay.
Right. Take my glasses off. I'm going to do it this way.
Okay, I promise not to peek.
Right, I just need to see where my pen and the paper actually are. Okay.
Okay, and yes, let's give us 2 minutes. Oh, that's actually really hard. I can't remember what a crocodile looks like.
I feel like the cat I'm drawing is going to have a really big beard.
I wish I'd chosen an animal that I could draw even with my eyes open. This is one I don't think I could draw even if I was looking.
Well, this is really hard. I have an art degree. I should be able to draw a cat, but I can't do it with my eyes closed.
Oh, now we're expecting a lot from you. So.
I know, that's the problem.
I don't know why I went for the on the head option. I've definitely chosen like
You've
all the hard
definitely gone
things.
for the hardest one.
No, what's that about?
We hope everyone else is giggling like we are, because this is it is very silly. I
Someone
can't
else
even remember where the paper's gone now.
I hope someone else is trying it on their heads because it is quite fun. But I think I'm complete.
I've got a feeling the
Okay.
paper may have slipped. It's going to come out very strange.
Oh dear, I've just seen my creation and.
Can I look at mine?
Yes,
Right, okay, I'm gonna let.
let's
Oh,
have a look.
okay.
We hold ours up and see what we've all got.
Maybe you can guess what mine is trying to be.
Okay, I'm going to try and guess. Sophie, I think
Well,
yours is-
we've got a whale and a crocodile. Is it a bear, Sophie?
Yes.
Oh, well done. On
I
your
feel
head.
really a sense of achievement now.
I was
It
going to
is
say
there.
koala bear.
Yeah, this is kind of a slightly hairy
should-
thing without
that's quite
eyes,
cute.
because I couldn't work out where the eyes. I couldn't picture like the gap between sides. Oh dear.
And I think using maybe some different coloured pens, we can create an imaginary monster. So I'm going to turn mine into a dragon.
Does it have? Is it a bad monster, a good monster? Does it not
I
matter?
think monsters can be good as well. I think
Okay.
you can get good monsters. So it's a task about using the real life creatures that we can find in our world and using them as an inspiration for maybe a story.
I don't know what this sort of cat creature is turning into. At the moment, it's sort of looking like something that the Gruffalo rejected. The Gruffalo wouldn't do that. They're far too friendly, the Gruffalo.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely don't want my bear to go bad.
No.
You know, even when I was drawing him, I was thinking this is not a bad creature.
A friendly bear.
I think I'm going to give my whale wings, so it's got the option. It
Oh,
can
I love
either
that.
swim or it can fly.
Ooh, I love it. I'd quite like the option myself, Tamsin.
So my crocodile is looking very friendly now. I've also got a friendly monster, I think. It's not really a dragon, something much stranger.
Mine.
And maybe a name. Should we come up with a name for our, our extraordinary creature?
Mine is, well, the problem with mine is that he ended up, am I allowed to show you yet?
Yes, let's have a look.
Well, mine got a little bit, I started off giving him claws and lots of like quite nasty features like red eyes and really sharp claws and a quite serious beard. And then I thought, oh, but I don't want him to be bad. So I gave him a big heart and sort of pink curly hair. And I thought, because he could be like a bear that looks really bad and nasty, but is actually kind of got a heart of gold and is quite kind. And then so I thought I'd call him Terry, because I thought if I was a kind bear that looked a bit scary, so he's called Terry the Scary Berry. That only works in my accent, doesn't it?
I think
Maybe his big claws might just be for climbing trees like koalas.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
and getting honey out of beehives.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And here's my Charlie the Chomper. So it's got little, well, those flowers were going to be eyes, but then I thought maybe they could be ears. And
they're lovely.
could swim in a river and flowers just pop up like this. And I don't know, maybe that's how it lures its food. Maybe it eats butterflies.
Nice.
We're going to discover that I'm not an artist, but I've got my whale with wings.
Lovely.
Majestic.
So,
What sort of have you got a whale with wings, Tamsin? Let's say. Oh, that's so cool.
Does he or she have a name?
I think maybe Walter.
Like
That's a nice watery name.
Mm.
It'd be lovely if anyone is in the chat wants to write the name of their animal or what it is, because that would be a really nice thing to hear what people have come up with.
Okay, this is Boris the werecat. He's got feet. So I feel like this is Boris. He's a bit sort of shaggy and hairy and kind of, it's a bit big, got slightly wonky ears, but actually he's a bit like a tabby cat, very friendly and will come and just sort of sit next to you and keep you warm. But on first look, you might be a little bit scared because you're like, werecats, that's... So I assume werecats probably the size of like a Great Dane. They're quite
brilliant.
big.
I
They're
would
quite
love
big.
a cat. Like, can you imagine the sound of his purr?
I know. Be a bit like a lion, like a
Yeah.
small lion. Yeah.
Bet
but
he
he's
feels
friendly.
really nice though. I bet that fur
Yeah.
feels really lovely. That's what I thought when I saw your picture.
Yeah, I wanted to make him furry. This is really good. This is such a good idea, Damaris. I love it. So we've got Boris, we've got
We've got Charlie the Trumper.
Charlie
Yeah.
the Trumper,
And Walter the Flying Whale.
Walter the Flying Whale, and Terry the non-terrifying bear. I like it. We've got some very imaginative names there. Well done, everyone.
Yeah. And I can see a good one in the chat as well that's intriguing. Can you see there?
Oh, let me have a look. Super Flying Tick.
Oh, I want to see that picture.
That's really good. We like
Oh,
that.
we've got Barry
Ooh.
as well.
Barry, yeah, like that one. Nice one, everyone. That's really brilliant. Anyone want to add any final touches before we'll move on to our next bit? Everyone okay?
I think I'm okay.
All right.
I think there's not much more I can do to Charlie, but I do want to write a story about him now. I feel like there's a story there.
You can, if you want to send us your pictures, you can obviously send them on our social media tags, which you will get in an email later, or when we send our feedback email, you can always email them at library_events@bathnes.gov.uk, and we will post them online. We'll do it anonymously, so no one has to worry about being tagged if they don't want to on social media. But we will post pictures up and tag the authors so that they can like them and tell you how wonderful they all are. Brilliant. Okay, Sophie, you are in the hot seat.
Ow!
I don't know why that became sort of weirdly rock and roll there. I don't know, it just did.
I'm happy with that, Lou. I'm happy with that.
Great. So we're going to start with, what is your wonderful book, The Wild Way Home, all about?
Right. This is The Wild Way Home. It is set partly in the Stone Age, and it tells the story of this person here, who is Charlie. And Charlie's got a lot going on at home because it's very nearly Charlie's 12th birthday, and all Charlie's ever wanted is a brother or a sister. And luckily for Charlie, a baby is on its way. However, when Charlie's baby brother, it turns out, is born, baby Dara has got a problem with his heart, and everyone is totally worried, especially Charlie. But Charlie's only 12 and doesn't really know what to do with all this worry and everyone else's worry and all the things that are going on at home. So Charlie does what Charlie always does, goes into the forest, and that's this place here. It's a wild, exciting forest, but just behind Charlie's house. Charlie always plays there with friends all the time, knows this place really well. But today, partly because Charlie's so shaken up by what's going on at home and the new baby and all the worries, when Charlie runs into the forest, it all feels really different. And when Charlie reaches the river, there's someone there, face down in the water, perhaps in trouble, perhaps drowned, perhaps even dead. So Charlie immediately runs over to this person and goes to see them. And it's not just somebody from now. Who Charlie meets is this person, who is Harvey. And Harvey is actually from the Stone Age. And Charlie has gone back in time to the Stone Age. And we find out why and how. We find out more about Harvey's story as the book goes on. And we also find out a lot more about Charlie. And Charlie finds a way to sort of work through all those feelings and sort of understand them a little bit. And also, Charlie has amazing adventures with Harvey together in Stone Age forest as they both try to find their way home. So that's The Wild Way Home.
Wow, that's such an adventure. That was amazing. Thanks. Wow. Okay. We're time traveling even better. We've got nature, we've got time travel. Oh, this is the best day ever. That's fantastic. Thanks, Sophie. So you've written all about time travel, but do you have a special place where that inspires you to write, where you like to write and where your ideas flow? You've got that special somewhere?
To be honest, ideas, a bit like what Damaris was saying, for me, ideas can suddenly pop into my head anywhere. Sometimes it's when I'm reading something, sometimes I'm out and about. I do tend to write in one particular room of my house where it's just full of all my junk, all my rubbish that actually inspires me as well. I'm not very tidy. I'll show you inside one of my notebooks. I like to scribble in a notebook for ideas because I can carry a notebook anywhere. And when you look inside it, you realise that it's really messy. There's things everywhere. There's doodles, there's arrows, there's squiggles, there's always lots of things scored out. My room where I write is really a bit like my notebook, and those are both a bit like inside my brain, really messy, and everything's everywhere, and it's kind of slightly horrible to look at and quite difficult to find things in, but I know that there are lots of buried treasures lurking around, and so I do tend to write in my room surrounded by all my stuff.
That sounds quite exciting, actually, a bit like Treasure Island in your brain. That sounds amazing.
Messy treasure island.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Damaris, because it is quite a big one. Have you always wanted to write for children, or have you also sort of thought about dabbling in writing for adults or young adults, or did you start writing for a different audience and then found yourself writing for children?
It's funny because when I start, I've always written. I've written since I was a child myself. It's just been the thing that I've always done, almost without thinking. Even before I wrote anything, I would think stories in my head. And I bet a lot of you people watching, children think stories in their head all the time when you're playing a game, or when you're even chatting to yourself in a little made-up world in the garden. We've all got loads of stories just in our heads. So they've always been there for me. And for ages and ages, I don't think I knew that who I was writing for. It didn't really cross my mind because I was just kind of writing for me. And then only when I got quite grown up, I thought, do you know what? I suddenly realized that I had, even though I was quite grown up, I'd never properly grown up in my imagination. And my stories had kind of got them where they had settled, my story brain had settled, was very much in the same place as the stories I liked to read when I was a girl. And so the stories I write, I think, are for children because that's the place where my imagination is really happy and really comfortable. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of the stories are coming from in my head. So I think that's probably why I write for children. But yeah, I've always loved writing. I don't think I knew I was writing for children until I suddenly got a light bulb moment.
Yes, we all need the light bulb moment, and then you suddenly go, aha, excellent. So I've got 2 more questions for you, and one's really tricky, and one I think you'll be able to answer quite easily. So the tricky one, no, the tricky one is only because we all get asked this question, and then we all sit there and go, I can't remember. What is your favourite children's book that's out now? So not of all time, because the all-time question, you're like, you guys are like me, you're like, I have lists for different situations because it depends on the genre. What's your favourite children's book that's out, sort of been out in the last couple of years?
No, okay, really tricky.
No pressure.
I'm deliberately not going to choose either Damaris's or Tamsin's because they're going to tell you loads about them already, although they are definitely in my list of favourites. One book that I really loved that I read this year because it just came out in January, and the cover you might have seen may not look like this because this is an early one. This is a proof one that I got. But anyway, it's called The Valley of Lost Secrets, and it's by Leslie Parr. And I really loved this book. It is set in the past as well, but not quite so far back in the past as my book. This is set in the Second World War. And it tells the story of these children, 2 brothers, who are evacuated from London to Wales, to the valleys of Wales. And when they're there, they make a mysterious discovery with a girl who's also evacuated with them. They discover something hidden in a tree. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I don't want to give too much away. And they try to unlock this mystery. But at the same time, they're trying to sort of settle in to a place that feels very unfamiliar to them. They're meeting a lot of people who they don't quite understand, and they don't understand how they work. But it's just a brilliant mystery. And the characters, my favorite books are where there are characters that you really love and you want to be their friends and you want them to be okay. The characters in this book really did that for me, and I just enjoyed every single page of it. And towards the end, I went really slow because I just didn't want it to stop. So this is, I've read loads of brilliant books recently, but this is definitely the one when you said that went ding into my head. Valley of Lost.
Excellent. Brilliant recommendation. We'll make sure we've got it on the library shelves as well. Fantastic.
Yeah, really.
So this again leads into your event, and I think into your activity that will help. So your book is all set in prehistoric Britain. Do you think you could survive if you had gone back to prehistoric Britain and Ireland?
No way. And not unless I had someone really, really good to help me someone who knew all the wild survival skills, because I think I gave this away a bit when I talked about my cats earlier. I think I probably would be a bit rubbish at surviving in the wild. I think if I had to kill my own dinner, for example, I'd probably find that really difficult, and I'd cry a lot and feel very sorry for whoever I had to eat. I think if I had to climb up a tree really high to, you know, pluck a really juicy fruit or something, I'd be really rubbish at it because I'm not very coordinated and I'd probably get stuck. I think I'd be really easy prey for really big creatures like Scary Terry's prehistoric ancestors. I would be absolutely dinner for them. Yeah, I'd be really rubbish. I can write about it. Maybe that's why I'll live my other life through writing stories.
Sometimes
in
that's
real
the
life.
safe way to explore dangerous worlds. How about you, Tamsin Damaris? You know, even maybe not as far back as prehistoric Britain, do you think you'd survive the past? Pretty like far, not the recent modern past where we had medicine and vaccines and stuff, but you know, the big scary past where it was a bit more wild and
It's dinosaurs.
dinosaurs.
No, I wouldn't survive with dinosaurs for definite. A Stone Age, I think I would give it a good go because I do really like being outside. I think that probably my biggest danger would be falling out of trees because I've got form for that.
That's a story for another time.
Or maybe eating the wrong things, but I do like the idea of just being outdoors, being covered in mud, having twigs sticking out of my hair, foraging for stuff, feeling very satisfied with myself when I managed to make a fire. So I'd give it a good go. I don't know how long I'd last.
I think I'd last for about a week. I like camping, but I'm not very good at it. So I'd give myself a week.
I'm a habit of creature comfort. I like my indoor plumbing, my indoor things. I don't camp. I'll go walking, and that's about as far as it will go. I would probably last less time than Sophie. That's brilliant. Right, Sophie, we're going to do some creative writing with you.
Yes,
Over to you to lead the way.
So you will need just you, really, your imagination, something to write with and something to write on. So where this activity comes from, it's inspired by my book a little bit because Charlie does find something really extraordinary in the forest. Charlie has a collection of all sorts of things that Charlie and friends have found all through their time in Mandel Forest, which is the forest in the Wild Way home. And actually in my family, and I'm sure it's probably the same with you, we tend to be like little magpies. We find quite a lot of interesting things. Let me show you some of the things we've found over time. Now, I've promised the people who find these things that I will say who did it. So this is one that I found, and this is can you see what that is? Can you guess what it is?
Is it a tooth?
Yeah, well done. It's a tooth, and it's actually a dropped tooth, dropped on my keyboard. It's a deer tooth.
Oh, wow.
This I found when I was at a deer park, and which was a really good find. I've cleaned it up a little bit with an actual toothbrush for the only time a deer.
Not your own, yeah.
Deer
That's
dentistry.
an actual tooth. This one was a find from my daughter, my youngest daughter,
that's
and I.
Brilliant. There's definitely stories there.
There's definitely stories there, and she is really good at just spotting a little something, and it was in the mud. I think it was this end. And she said, "What's that?" And we dug it out. It was winter and it was very muddy. We dug it out, and she found this. And the whole way home we talked about what it might open and how it ended up in the middle of a field. This is one my husband found on our allotment, and he was convinced it was a spearhead until one very sensible elderly gentleman at the allotment said, "I think it's just from an old rake." But I'll go with spearhead rather than like rake prong. And then my absolute favorite, and this is another one that my youngest daughter found.
Wow.
Now this is quite magic because we found it last summer. So it was lockdown time, and during lockdown we went for lots of bike rides and walks, my family and I, and it was just before the Wild Way home came out. So every time we went for a walk, we'd bring the book with us because we had an early one, and I'd read a couple of chapters in wherever the wild place was that we were to my family, and so we could share the story together, because I hadn't shared it with them yet. And as we were reading on the riverbank, my youngest daughter, scraping away, she'd find something in the mud, and she scraped and scraped and scraped, got to the end of the chapter, and she pulled this out of the sand by the river.
Wow.
And we looked at it, and you know when you find something and you know it's extraordinary, it's special to you, and it feels really special. I wish you could all touch this, because it feels smooth and almost warm. And we made loads of guesses as to what it might be. So if you're thinking at home, well, what is it? A little look as to what on earth you think this might be, because it's actually quite big. You can see in relation to my finger. What do you reckon?
Is it antler?
Good guess. We did wonder this, that it could be the very tip at the end of a deer's antler, a really big deer, if so. Any other thoughts?
I'm very much hoping it's not something's claw.
Yeah, I've been thinking
I can
it's not
see
a dinosaur's claw.
Lily's wondering if it's a tusk. We had that thought. We were all woolly mammoth tusk, saber-toothed tiger tooth, claw, as Tamsin has said, unicorn horn, perhaps. Tons of things that it might be. But we were so excited. We actually sent a picture to the Natural History Museum, and they thought maybe the end of a deer horn. They also thought perhaps the horn of an ungulate animal, like a goat or a sheep. But they're not able to give us more information unless we bring it in. So we want to bring it in, but also we don't want them to take it away, because we really love it. So we might show it and share it to the Natural History Museum at some point. But anyway, that is where that comes from. And that leads me to what I want you to do. So with your pencils and papers, it's going to be something we're going to do about finding stuff, because we're all going to find something today. And before we start any writing at all, I need you to really switch on your imaginations, totally and utterly switch them on. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and I'm going to talk you through what's going to happen. So just trust me and see if you can imagine all the things I'm saying. And then I'm going to get to a point and I'm going to ask you to write some stuff down. So for now, just close your eyes and let's see if we can imagine. So the first thing I want you to imagine is I'd like you to picture a place in your mind, an outside place that you know really well. And you don't need to tell anybody about it, you just need to capture it in your head. So it could be your garden, it could be a field, it could be a beach, it could be a river, it could be a park, it could be anywhere at all. But see if you can picture an outside place that you know really, really well. And once you've got that place, can you just open your eyes a little second? So I can see that the authors and Lou have got their places. I hope you've got your places too. So hold that place in your mind, do a blink, check it's still there. Mine's still there. Yours still there. Excellent. Right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go for a walk in that place, but not just any walk. You need to go for a barefoot walk. So if you've got shoes and socks on, or even slippers, can you take them off? You've got bare feet. And can you wiggle your toes, please, at me, just to prove that you've got bare feet? So I need bare feet, please. If you can find your foot, can we wiggle our toes, please?
I can't without falling off my chair.
Yeah, even so, I would like a foot. See? Have you, Damaris?
You're going to have fingers. I haven't got shoes on. I have.
Don't worry, you can wiggle your fingers. I'll trust you, Lou.
Thanks.
And can everybody else is watching wiggle a toe, please? Even if I can't see it, I want to believe it. Wiggle. Thank you. Okay, so now that we're all barefoot, we're going to go for a barefoot walk in that place. So what I'm going to ask you to do in a second, you to shut your eyes again, get your place back, and I want you to move your feet, and you can get up and walk around your house if you like, or wherever you are is absolutely fine, but I want you to move your feet up and down. So shut your eyes and move your feet up and down as if you're walking in your place. So that place where you were imagining, going for a walk there. Feel under your toes what the ground feels like. Is it mossy? Is it wet? Is it dry? Is it sandy? Is it hard? Is it squelchy? See if you can wriggle your toes. Stop walking for a moment and wriggle your toes in it. Ooh, get them really muddy if it's muddy, or sandy if it's sandy. And, oh my goodness, with the big toe on your right foot, dig just a little bit deeper, because there's something in there. Scrape it away with your toe, and then bend down when you're ready and see if you can pull it out with your hand and see what on earth it might be. And then reach down, and when you've got it, hold it in your hand in front of you really tight. And then when you're ready, open your eyes and open your hand. And imagine, what have you found on that walk? Because even though it's an ordinary place that you know really well, you can find extraordinary things. Perhaps you found something a bit like one of the objects that we found on our adventures. Perhaps you found something totally different. So once you know what it is that you've found and you've imagined that and fixed it in your head, this is what you're going to write about. So you could draw your object, or you could describe your object. But there's two things that I'm interested in, especially. I'm interested in what it is and what it might be. So for example, this, it is a rusty key, but what might it be? It might be the key to a dark and scary dungeon. It might be the key to an enchanted land. It might be the key to an old garden that's not been discovered for 100 years. You decide what it might be, and you decide what it is. And you can draw, describe, whatever you choose. But if we just take a couple of minutes to do that, and then I'd love to hear what Damaris and Tamsin and Lou have discovered, and you as well in the chat. So let's do it. For the sake of time, I'm going to limit you now to about 30 seconds, which is very cruel, but it's just enough to have a little seed of an idea. And with these ideas, just like with Damaris's creature you made, you could grow those into bigger stories later when you've got all the time in the world. Right, I'm going to have to stop you very, very soon. Lou, you look very perky and ready. I was going to say mine just briefly is I found a key, like my key, rusty and old, and it was lost in the mud. So I stuck with the object that I knew already. And I thought, what might it unlock? And I think it's going to unlock a secret cellar full of books written in code. So it's almost like my mystery leads to another mystery, leads to another mystery. And I don't know anything more than that, but I'm quite excited about the idea. Anybody else? Do you want to let me know what you found and what it might be?
I found a small round piece of metal that fits in the palm of my hand. Ooh. And its edges are smooth and worn like a sea pebble. but when you wipe all the mud off it, you can see that it's shining. It's some sort of precious metal, and it's got a knot in the center of it. So I think I might have found a piece of Viking treasure.
Amazing. I think you might have done. What
Really
about you?
hard to think, isn't it? Like just sort of on the spot, like what? There's so many ideas that sort of come to you, just floods of ideas. And I thought maybe a shard of ceramic from a broken up mug. And then I thought, oh, who could this mug belong to? So on the bottom, I thought maybe there's a stamp from where the mug was made, and it could be the magic mug shop. And that's all I've got. So
Oh, I love it. I love finding little bits of china on a walk. I always think that's a lovely find. What about you, Lou?
So I found a silver ring that has a black stone in it, and there's markings all around the band, and it's clearly very, very old. It's not a modern design by any stretch of the imagination, and I think it might be a lost ring of King Arthur's court.
Wow. Amazing.
Got some lovely
We've done
finds in the
really
chat
well. We
as
should
well.
definitely be going to like the British Museum later today with these finds. We find hoards. I can see in the chat that Lily has found a beautiful crystal with silver veins that turns out to be a portal to the world of dragons. And the crystal turns from purple to green, transforming into a dragon's egg.
Love it.
Oh
Love
my
it.
word. I would love to find that crystal, Lily. That sounds beautiful. Well done. That's a great find.
We are cutting a little bit fine with time, so I hope everyone doesn't mind. We might run over by about 5 minutes.
I'm sorry, I talked too much.
No,
Anyway.
Sophie, no, it's not a problem. We've all been talking a lot. It's great. So I will very swiftly move on. Thank you for your imagination activity. That was great. And we hope you've all got some great stories. Don't forget to share them with us online if you want to. And we will move on to Tamsin, author of The Weather Weaver. Such a lovely book. It's so good. And we've had some quite strange weather recently. I don't know if you guys could hear the rain hitting my conservatory roof just a minute ago. It was quite loud.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Weather magic gets in the way. So Tamsin, tell us a little bit about what The Weather Weaver is all about.
Oh, so The Weather Weaver is set in Shetland, which is my favourite place in the whole world, which are a group of teeny tiny islands a long way north, about 12-hour ferry ride north of Scotland. And Stella, the main character, has been sent to Shetland to spend the summer holidays with her grandpa while her parents are away working. She sets off full of excitement and grand plans as to what she's going to do there over the holidays. She's got spotting puffins, exploring the beaches, having a lot more independence than she's used to. But when she turns up, it's not quite what she expected at all. Grandpa is very grumpy and overprotective, and they end up falling out really badly. Soon after that, she encounters an old woman called Tama. Now, Stella knows straight away that there's something strange about Tama, because Tama reaches up, pinches together her finger and thumb, and the wind just stops. And then she asks Stella to catch her a cloud. Now, initially, Stella is like, you can't catch clouds. Clouds are, well, clouds. But Tama is very insistent and convinces Stella to have a go. Now, I'm pretty sure that if I asked you if you'd like to be able to choose the weather, you'd say, yes. Who wouldn't like to be able to snap their fingers and choose the weather? But turns out to be a bit more complicated than that, insofar as the weather matches itself to your mood, which can get very tricky indeed. So Stella has got some stormy times ahead of her.
That sounds amazing. Oh, that's, well, yes. Wouldn't we all like to be able to change weather? But if it changed with your mood, maybe not when you're at work.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be
nice days.
Very dodgy if you got in a very bad grump. And
yes,
the weather
lots of thunderstorms.
Clouded out.
So Tamsin, what made you want to be an author? Is it something you've always wanted to do, or did you do something else and suddenly go, aha, stories must be told?
Much like Sophie, I've always written, but it was something I did just for me because I love writing and making up stories. So for a very long time, I had lots of other jobs, and I would sneak off in any free moment I could, in lunch breaks and at the end of the day and on my commute home, and I'd be perpetually scribbling. And then I think about probably 8 years ago, I had the light bulb moment, and I was like, I could actually be doing this all the time. This is what I love doing. Why am I not spending all my time doing this? So yeah, so I've always been a writer, but in terms of writing, being an author, then it actually just didn't cross my mind until quite late that I could do that.
That's a really good point, though, because sometimes we think we have to be doing the things that we want to do straight away forever. But sometimes you come to them later, earlier, you put them down, you pick them back up again.
If you'd asked me when I was about 10, then I was already doing lots and lots of writing, but I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. And that carried on for quite a long time. I've had a ridiculous number of different jobs. It's become a running joke with my children. Quite often I'm like, oh yeah, back when I was a baker, then blah, blah, blah. That time when I used to work in a vet, then blah, blah, blah. No, I didn't really enjoy working in a factory. And they're like, what? How many jobs have you had?
Lots of adventures and inspiration for more stories. That's what it is. So you came to being an author a bit late. Have you always wanted to write for children, or was it just telling stories in any format that you wanted to do?
I started off writing lots and lots of poetry. I find that a very good way to just condense ideas into a very, very tiny format that somehow gets straight to the excitement or the emotion or a very neat description of what's in my brain. And then I gradually, as I got more confident, then those kind of grew into short stories. But The Weather Weaver is the first sort of full-length actual booky book that I've written. So yeah, no, I definitely always wanted to write for children because that's just where my imagination is. But yeah, I've experimented with lots of different sort of styles of that.
Oh, well, maybe one day we'll be reading your poetry as well. That would be brilliant. What inspires you most?
Oh, being outdoors. Whenever I get stuck or I'm finding something a bit tricky or I can't figure out where my story is going next, then I go out for a really long walk. And being outdoors always just fires up my imagination. I think there's something to do with walking and words coming into my head.
Yeah.
And better still, if I can find somewhere with lots of sky up above me. I really like being in big, wide open spaces. So top of a hill or somewhere where you can see for miles, that just, yeah, that's an inspiration to me. Hence The Weather Weaver, honestly.
Well, that leads us nicely into the last question and for us to do your activity, because we are going to overrun a little bit because I've noticed it's 4 minutes to 12. So we are going to overrun a few minutes. I hope that's okay with our audience. So what kind of weather is your favourite weather?
Oh, my favourite weather is thunderstorms. Yes, I know that's not everybody's favourite, but I just love thunderstorms. I find them so exciting. Whenever there's a thunderstorm, then I'm either out in it going, wow, look at that, or else I'm sort of pressed up against the window trying to spot the next flash.
I'm very much like you, Tamsin. That and snow. I get very overexcited about snow. I'm like a toddler when it snows. It's the most exciting thing ever. And if the weather forecast changes, I get really grumpy because I've been denied snow or thunder. Sophie, Damaris, quickly, what's your favourite kind of weather?
I think storms as well. There's something about a storm. We had a storm last night, and it's just really exciting. I mean, sunshine's nice, but a storm is something different.
Yeah, I must say I do like hot sunshine. I do like a bit of a
See, I'm one of those people that if I go outdoors in hot sunshine, then I start to sizzle within
I'm the
about
same.
2 minutes. And then
We've
the
got
freckles
vampire
come out.
genes in our family. We work hard to be pale in this family. So quickly onto your activity. We are making weather recipes.
We are making weather recipes. And I figured you can choose whatever weather you like. The tricky thing about weather weaving is that everybody has to learn it for themselves. There's not a single recipe that works for everybody because it has to come from inside you. So what I want you to do is think of your absolutely favorite weather, whether that's sunshine or storms or high winds or pouring rain. I quite like pouring rain, if I'm honest. And then what you need to do to conjure up that weather is think about how it feels, how it sounds, how it tastes, all of your different senses. So I will walk you through it. I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment and picture really clearly being out on a hillside in your favorite weather. So first of all, what does it sound like? Picture the sound. What can you hear around you? It might not just be the sound of the weather, but things around you as well, like the wind makes the trees make a huge noise, or if there's hail or rain, you can hear it rattling off the surfaces around you. What does it smell like? Most weathers have got a different smell. I love the smell of thunderstorms. They smell electric and sharp in the air. But all different weathers have got their own smell. So sunshine might smell like cut grass or ice cream, maybe salt if you're close to the sea. And what taste do you associate with that weather? Is there a favorite food that you like when you're in that weather? What does it feel like on your skin? Does it make you shiver and curl up and go all tight? Or does it make you stretch out and relax? What does it feel like on your skin? And last of all, what does it look like? Can you picture the scene with that weather all around you? So when you've got all of those things, I want you to write them down in a list on your piece of paper. So what can you see? What's the biggest sound you can hear? What does it smell like? Is there a taste in your mouth as well? And what does it feel like on your skin and in your body? How does it make you stand? When you've got all of those things, I want you to conjure up the feeling of excitement or love or happiness that weather gives you when it comes whirling into the sky. Could be sunshine, could be a huge storm, but whichever weather you've chosen, when the entire sky is filled with that weather, how does it make you feel? Then what I want you to do is later on today, when we're not looking at our computers anymore, I want you to go outside, find somewhere outside to stand on your own and conjure up all those ingredients and that feeling inside you. It takes a bit of practice. It doesn't always work just like that. But I've found that actually, if you practice conjuring up all of those different elements of a weather, then sometimes that weather will come looking for you.
Oh, I like that. I don't think people want my weather in July. I'll save it so we have a white Christmas.
I have a sneaking suspicion that there might be a bit of weather magic between the pages of the book, because since people started reading it, the weather has been all over the shop.
Well, words and magic, it's a very well-known force to play with, and you add weather into it, well, it's just part of being in the bookish world, is it not? We unleash the magic and then we can't do anything about it. Oh, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. we'll give you a few minutes just to finish off your weather recipes and write down your thoughts. And then we will finish off our event. We're only a few minutes over, so that's not too bad. Well done, everyone, sticking to time. Sophie, Damaris, did you have a weather that you've come up with?
Storm for me.
Another heat wave, Sophie?
Yes, absolutely. I was feeling quite guilty as I was writing my descriptions, though, because I realised that the weather I like can be a bit destructive, really. And so as I actually thought of your first book, Damaris, when I was writing my description, because it was all the lots of very dry earth and cracks in the earth and leaves wilting. It wasn't very nice, I thought. So I'll be very careful when I do my weather weaving later.
You need to get a bit of a balance. So if you're going to have scorching sunshine for a while, then maybe follow it up with a good rainstorm.
Exactly. I'll get that one ready.
Excellent. Tamsin, did you think of a storm as well? Because I know you are a fan.
Yes. My favourite is lightning storms over the sea.
Yes. Yes.
So the air smells electric and salty, and the whole sky lights up. You can see the entire.
It feels huge, doesn't it? It just
immense.
Yeah. Yes. That sounds excellent. Oh, yes, as I said, I'll save mine for Christmas, so we have a white Christmas. Because I love a good snowstorm and snowfall, and then going out with my camera and being a nerd in the woods. Oh yes,
brilliant,
excellent,
perfect,
brilliant. Right, you guys can obviously we've recorded this, so you'll be able to watch this back later if you want to. Because if you want to do the activities again or have another go, feel free to keep going after we finish, and don't forget to send us your creations. So you can either email them to us at library_events@bathnes.gov.uk or tag us on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Pinterest. Come and say hi to us. We always like to say hi to library users. We'll tag the authors to see your creations, and they can tell you how brilliant they all are, because I bet your drawings and creations have been amazing, because you guys, our readers always come up with the most amazing creations at our events. We love them. So just want to say a huge thank you to Sophie, Tamsin and Damaris for coming to join us today. It's been wonderful to share your books and your enthusiasm, and you've inspired me to get a huge reading list put together. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you to our audience for coming, and to my wonderful admin assistant, Emily, who has been an absolute saint doing all our tech in the background, making sure it's all run smoothly. So thank you guys. We will see you all very soon, hopefully in person. The libraries are open. Do come and visit us. Do the summer reading challenge. Read as many books as you can this summer. That would be fantastic. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.